So I don't know if my microphone is on. Okay, it's on. So welcome everyone. The last part of today's workshop, the interactive one. And do you have a microphone there? Yes, I think it's on the table. Would you like to take the microphone and just say one sentence for yourself, just introduce yourselves and your projects?
Hello? Okay, so you've already met me. I'm now wearing the hat of the Iberoto EPC. My background is, I'm a physicist. I did building physics, lots of building physics, and a PhD on indoor environmental quality and ventilation. That's why I mentioned about comfort aspects. And now on Iberoto EPC, BPA is developing the concept, has already developed the concept, and we're also working on exploitation. That's why I also talked about the step after the end of the project. Thank you.
Hello, again. Previously, you have met me as from the project D2 EPC. Now, I am also in its successor, the Smart Living EPC. I have studied electrical engineering, and I did my master on energy efficiency of buildings. In the last 2 years, I work as a research associate in the Center of Technology Hellas in the Information Technologies Institute, and I think that's all.
Paris, should we also talk about our projects we are presenting, or just introduce yourself?
Please introduce the projects as well, yes. Just in 2 sentences.
Okay. My name is Narme Altmann. I work for the Austrian Energy Agency. I am an architect, and in the agency I work in the Department for Sustainable Buildings and Energy Efficiency. Here I'm also in the D2 EPC project, but on the stage I'm representing CrossCert, which is about harmonizing the EPCs throughout Europe and comparing and assessing the existing EPCs and making a recommendation after the project ends. It has started in 2021 and it's going to finish in 2024. So we are almost halfway through.
Test. Good. So, Andrei Lițiu again. So I'm representing EPC Recast. I'm working for RIVA, the Federation of HVAC Associations. For my background, if we are not connected on LinkedIn, just search me and let's connect. I'll just say that I'm an engineer based in Brussels. And as RIVA, representing building professionals, this is what we have as mission, to bring the policy realm with the technical realm so that the market ultimately benefits of this. EPC Recast is the 4th sister project from this generation with D2 EPC, DICE, and Ipanacea. It will finish next year in June. It was on purpose a bit longer, and it also develops like an innovation action tools to support the whole process for both building performance assessors, but also on the end user side. But it has a very specific focus on residential buildings, both single-family and multi-family buildings.
Thank you. So, hello, good afternoon. My name is Leandro Madrazo. I'm a professor of architecture in La Salle School of Architecture, Universitat Ramon Llull in Barcelona, Spain. I'm the coordinator of the TimePack project, which started in 2021 and will have still 1 more year. So we'll have our final conference, hopefully like this, perhaps in Barcelona in 1 year. TimePack is a cooperation and support action. It's not an innovative action. So we are working mainly on building, capacity building, networking, and focusing very much on training, on bringing all of these tools we have seen here today. Actually, it's a very interesting input for our project because what we try to do is to bring this innovation into a kind of learning context. Actually, the TimePack Academy will be our major outcome at the end of the project. So we expect to start the training program by the end of the year. And I think it will be very helpful to have all of these lines of innovation, these tools, these methodologies we have seen here, going forward into another context, in a context of capacity building. this suggestion we have heard before about not stopping the projects here with these final conference presentations, I think our project could provide a structure to continue discussing about this innovation. So I would invite you to follow us and keep in contact, and probably you will hear about us as well.
Okay, Leandro, thank you very much. With your permission, I will call you with our first names. So we have a set of 7 questions here, which we would like to discuss with you. Starting with the first one, the EPC is 20 years old as a formal concept and a teenager in respect to its market applications. Now, what would you consider as the key benefits and as the key handicaps of this assessment scheme? And let's start from Vivian. Vivian, would you like to take this one?
Okay. Thank you, Paris. Okay, the benefit. I'll just share a personal story that I'm looking for a property to buy. So either a flat or a house here in Brussels. So I'm willing to pay more for a property that has a higher EPC. So perhaps this is a benefit already. I don't know if it's because I'm working on the area, or it's because the Belgian one or the Flanders is a bit of let's say the front runners. But yes, the EPCs are supposed, and they were introduced. I think this year is the 21st birthday. Then and they were introduced to increase this transparency of the building sector, to introduce the recommendations, to inform and to motivate to renovate. Let's say that these are the good points, but are not always till the maximum achieved. On the other side, for IB Road EPCs, in order to develop the concept of the IB Road EPC, we did a market analysis of the EPCs across Europe, and we found that there is a very big
fluctuation.
Sorry?
Fluctuation.
Variation of the EPCs across Europe. Some, like the Portuguese, are more front runners, but this diversity is caused from political or different political and legal contexts, and also differences in the real estate. Also, the design is different, the quality is different, and the cost is different. And actually, still now, there is a very low reliability and trust on the EPCs, and still people are seeing EPCs as an administrative burden. So, considering this market variability, what we'll try to do in IB Road to EPCs to create a concept that would satisfy both the more and the less advanced EPCs. So it starts from a basic scenario, and then it builds upon the more advanced scenario. So for me, these are handicaps, like the ones on the trust and the reliability, that we still need to cover up on that.
I think trust is always a keyword. So Stavro, what is Smart Living EPC point of view on that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I would like to characterize EPCs quite a mature or famous teenager, as the concept of the energy class and the energy performance certificate is well established in the minds of the people, of the majority, related to the building sector at least. But not only. Recently, I would like to share a story of mine. I went to buy an air conditioner or a fridge. Everything had an energy class on it. So, from our point of view, from my point of view, this is the greatest benefit. It is recognizable. Although there are specific characteristics that we try to improve with these projects, like the energy gap, and there are several techniques to do it. But the second is the limited scope. The performance of a building is not only its energy performance. In Smart Living EPC, we try to integrate several aspects, like the smart readiness, the life cycle assessment, the human comfort, in one unified scale. Again, the classification from A to G or from A plus, whatever, is crucial. To a common indicator, one class, one indicator, something recognizable to the people. I think.
Okay, so merging more information into one scale in Smart Living EPC, this is interesting. I know that well because we also participate in Smart Living EPC, and it's a nice concept for sure. So Vivian, trust and other gaps that you have identified in your first statement, which actions do you think are needed in order to reinforce and complement the current EPC schemes?
Ibero to EPC. Okay, so Alexander, I'm selling this a lot, so extra bonus for me. No, I think that EPCs offer a great opportunity to be linked with the building renovation passport, and what is Ibero to EPC is doing is some sort of a bridging the two, and it's helping EPCs to go towards that direction. Because it cannot go from one day to the other and from one step to the other. As I said, some countries are more front runners, some countries are a bit more behind. So by joining the two instruments, EPC can become a powerful tool and also to trigger also deep renovation. But there are still several barriers on the implementation of the building renovation passports, such as the lack of financial support, also the lack of awareness, and also the public costs. So what we did at the Ibero is that we developed this basic module. I mean, I won't dive into details now, but I mean, starting from a basic module that it's based on an on-site visit, and then we can build a more advanced version by adding new modules such as the indoor environmental quality, such as the smart readiness indicator, the energy demand, and the cost, and then we go closer to the building renovation passport. So, yeah. And of course, also the link to the digital building logbook is very important, and the link to the EPC databases is also important. So, yeah.
Thank you, Vivian, for that.
Thank you.
Now, let's move to the other side of the panel. Leandro, I have a short question for you. It concerns the recent EPBD recast, and it has been met with optimism from climate proponents, as well as claims from some market actors that its implementation is actually unrealistic, in an axis ranging from conservative realism to high ambition. Where would you set the ideal target for the new EPCs?
Yeah, thank you. I was thinking about this question since I got it on the email, and I was wondering what does it mean conservative here? I mean, conservative means that we keep something that has been working well in the last years for the EPC, and what are these things that have worked well? I mean, maybe we should answer that. So we have heard that EPCs are an administrative load that are only just something that has to be done because it's obliged by the legislation, but the actual value, the actual impact to reduce energy consumption in buildings, to improve retrofitting, this is a big question mark. So what has to be maintained from the old EPCs? This is one question I ask myself. About the other part of the question about the progressive attitude, I think what we are seeing now in the EPBD recast is just a real paradigm shift. So we are changing the meaning of EPCs with this new legislation. I think originally the EPC was indeed a label thinking only on the building as an object and only on the energy of the building. But now we are talking about not only the building, we are talking about the environment. We are not only talking about energy, we are talking about water, about comfort. And we are talking about people, not only about the building. We are talking about the quality of the spaces. So it's a real paradigm shift. So much that I wonder myself if the name EPC is still valid. Probably not. We are not talking anymore about certification. We are not talking about refrigerators with a label. We are talking about something else. We are talking about building assessment in a context of the sustainable environment. We are talking about connecting buildings with vehicles, with district energy production. We are talking about many other things. And my last point regarding the recast is that I'm kind of surprised by reading the recast to see that sometimes it's more like a list of wishes. We would like to have databases, yes, for sure. We would like to have databases connected to the European Building Observatory, yes, of course we like. We would like to have automatic generation of EPCs and harmonize with all Europe, yes, I also sign that. But there are many issues here, technical issues, legislative issues. So I'm kind of surprised to see in this recast that there is a wishes about technical things that are not solved at all. And they are there like a list of, we are going to do EPC databases connected to I don't know what. This is technically not solved. So I'm kind of surprised to see a law in the European Parliament that is really dealing with technical issues that are still under development.
Thank you, Leandro, for your answer, and I totally agree with you. If I could comment on that, we all recognize that sustainability schemes for buildings are much more comprehensive and include much more information. And it could be the case that we could have EPCs as part of a sustainability scheme together with other indicators, assessing other environmental aspects and sustainability aspects of the building, considering that energy is actually a natural resource, and we could consider this in a similar manner as other natural resources. What personally I see as, let's say, limitation is the fact that we have all these requirements coming from directives, and the directives, they are delivered by DG Energy in this case. So we restrict ourselves in the energy aspect. We go vertical, we don't go horizontal, and we say that, okay, it's all about energy. But I fully agree with you, and this is what all these projects are demonstrating, the fact that for an assessment of building, we can have a more comprehensive overview, not just of energy, but of other aspects that may be included. Now, I would like to move on to the next question. I don't miss any opportunity. Would you like to take this one as well, Nakme? I think we are still on time, so you are allowed to give a short answer.
He knows me, I talk a lot. Doing cross-set projects, because I think it is linked to what our colleagues said, we are cross-testing certificates or EPCs in the clustered areas. That means the countries that have similar climatical zones, they calculate the building with the other partners' calculation tool and the other way around. And we have figured out that sometimes some things are missing that is not in that country, or the EPC tool in that country. So the harmonizing EPCs is very difficult. That means you have to bring everybody to the table to discuss what is needed. You talked about standardization, how to calculate. So we find that if we want to compare buildings in similar climatical zones, maybe, we have to speak the same language, maybe. It's also one item in the wishing list. So okay. I just wanted to add this to it.
Thank you for that, Nakme. So, as I started saying, I don't miss opportunity to refer to the significant role of Riva and Andrei in next-gen EPC cluster. So we are all here today, perhaps for all these efforts of Andrei for bringing all the projects together. And this is something that, at least in my point of view, it's highly appreciated by everyone working on this project. So Andrei, I would like to ask you to give us your point of view concerning the ways that we can keep EPCs affordable and understandable for the end users. What do you think?
Thank you, Paris. Well, I was merely a facilitator, so it was a team effort, and this event happened because of you guys, but I'm glad to be part of it. So from EPC recast point of view, maybe before, on a personal note, I also agree that EPC, the term, might be outdated, so maybe we should move to BPC, like building performance. I think BPI would stand for that. They were ahead of the market from that perspective, but that would also complicate things. Imagine how would this be coordinated at directorate general level in the Commission, because it's linked to energy now, where it started from, so it would become more complex. But I think we have already shown that you can go farther together than fast alone, even if it takes a bit longer. I think this is what we want to achieve. So in terms of affordability, the ethnographic research that we have performed showed that we had interviews with laypersons, like really the end users, not the assessors and so on, so the people that actually should benefit from the EPC. And Vivian, I think what you just said was confirmed, so those that had a connection to energy via their work were much more interested and more knowledgeable. But overall, people knew that this is something useful, but they didn't have a link to their contextual lives, like day-to-day activities. They saw the need of it, but indeed it was like an administrative burden. So from their point of view, the message was that EPCs, even if they are affordable, maybe that's not the case in all the countries, they are too costly when you think about the added value they bring to them. And when we presented, because also in EPC Recast, we believe that additional indicators are needed. Energy is just one dimension of building performance. At RIVA, we stand for this always. We say that buildings are built for people. So we used to live in caves. Those were really, zero emission buildings. But we don't want to do that anymore. When they realized that they could get something of added value to optimize their behavior, they said they would be willing to pay as much as it takes. So from that point of view, I think it's rather a question, what can policy do? Because there is a limit. What can be mandated by policy? And what can the market do as a pull effect? And if you look at the tools that were presented today, in EPC Recast, we have similar tools. I think these can act on a voluntary basis to begin with, and policy, if you look at EPBD, the way it started, as you rightly said, EPCs had a very specific scope, so we cannot make expectations that they should have covered everything from the beginning, and I think they met those expectations, but things evolved and buildings are becoming more complex with digital transformation. So I think there should be this coordination, and such projects are bridging this communication gap, policy, technical, and market. And with this synergetic effect of push and pull, and Stavros mentioned the eco-design and energy labeling, I think for buildings this can play a similar role.
Thank you, Andre, for your answer. Nakme, you represent Crosser, and of course you work for an energy agency, the Austrian Energy Agency. What is your point of view concerning our energy assessors? We have demonstrated today many advanced techniques and many advancements that we expect them to be reality in a few years from now. Do you think that our assessors have the capacity to produce these results, or do you believe that there is a need for further training and development of our people?
Thank you. From almost all the projects I've done in the EPCs and also in the concerted action, we know that the education and training of the assessors are different in all the European countries. Some of them go through special trainings, how to make an EPC, and in some countries it is only needed that you are an engineer and you don't have to even be an architect or somebody who understands physics. As long as you have a title and a company, you can, and technical company, you can produce an EPC. So that means there is still a gap how to educate or train the EPC issuers to bring them at the same to the same level in order to produce a good and correct EPC. That means where to put the right entry to calculate, and also maybe to interpret it, and also to provide recommendations, because it's also part of the EPC. when it comes to that.
What is the point of view of Andrei representing Riva, which has, if I remember well, 120,000 members across Europe, engineers? So what is your point of view, Andrei, on that?
Yeah, so upskilling or even reskilling is important, but also the education side, so this the supply chain to provide these people, because those working in this sector, of course, they will cope. There are, if you look only at these projects and also EPC Recast, all the training side of things is digitalized, so people can do this at their own pace. It doesn't mean they need to take one day off and not be productive. They can follow courses, and Leandro also mentioned in TimePack, the academy. So I think that's not necessarily an issue with this digitalization. And at the same time, if you start using more tools, and yeah, I'll hinge on ChatGPT. I don't know how many of you started using that tool, but if you know the limitations and how to use it, you can really become more efficient with certain tasks. So I think all the tools that you have presented, as I said, in EPC Recast, we have something that helps the assessment process for the building performance assessor. Even if they go on an on-site visit with a tablet, they can immediately have the blueprint of the building in just a few minutes, just by taking some photos and measurements. So if you look at that, I think people will be able to do more in less time. But of course, there isn't yet, we are not there yet like, I don't know, other professions like the ICT sector. That's very attractive. But I think everything that is evolving in this sector will attract more people to join these type of activities. But it will take, and this is more from Riva side, it takes a bit of awareness raising, also on terms of gender balance, but also attractiveness. And I think, yeah, I'm a geek myself, but building performance is really sexy, so we just need to convey the message and show people what this really means in practice.
Thank you, Andrei, for your answer. So we have another 6 minutes and 2 questions. I think we will be on time. Nakme, this one is for you again. So we have been discussing about training of assessors. What about the construction workforce? People working in the construction, all these advancements, do you feel that they have the capacities of integrating them, or do you need that there is need for training for this case as well?
How do I start? Because I've been involved in build-up skills projects, and so since 2010, and we have started also the new project.
Just consider that you have 2 minutes, then you know how to start.
I'll be quick. That there is still a gap. We know that the construction workers, they don't like to attend trainings because of lack of time and lack of interest, because they say we know everything, why should we take part, and time is money. But we still know that there is a gap, and if we want to make ZEP buildings, this is the in the revision of the EPBD, so we have to be on, all of us on the same page. So we need construction workers to be also educated to see what they make for their designers. At least that we can design, but when it comes to the building or construction site, it is important to know what we are doing.
Thank you, Nakme, for your answer. On time. So our last question, Leandro, professor of architecture, you have a very good, let's say, communication with the developments in the field of architecture for smart buildings and for all the smart technologies that we have presented today. SRI, operational rating, they all imply that our buildings will become more technology heavy. So we'll have more technologies, more infrastructure, more smart devices, more smart automation and control systems integrated into our buildings. Do you expect that the investment in such solutions will pay for itself? And will it actually lead to reduced energy consumption?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I think beyond the technological issues, or underneath the technological issues, is the issue of data. I think digitization. In TimePack, we presented the project based on the hypothesis that EPC data is a continuous flow, starting with the generation of the EPC, following with the storage, the analysis of these EPCs in the databases, and then the exploitation of these databases. And all of these 4 stages, we think that should be continuously flowing. The data should go continuously from one to the other over time. So we are not talking about a label at a given moment. We are talking about the building assessment over time. And in this regard, this concept has been already implemented. It's already implemented. There are ESCOs, there are service companies providing this service for commercial buildings since years. These ESCOs have developed their own tools, their own databases, their own calibration models. So I wonder, what are we doing now in this discussion with EPCs? Are we trying to do the same thing that ESCOs are doing for commercial buildings for the overall building stock? It's a question I ask myself. If this is the direction, of course there's business, but the challenge is that the building stock mostly is residential buildings, and among them, the multifamily residential buildings is a real trouble because of the property scheme. So it's easier to apply renovation to a detached housing than to do it in a multifamily building, as everybody knows. So this is the real challenge for exploiting, for getting benefit, or bringing the private sector into this discussion about deep renovation of the building stock, beyond purely the administrative things, to generate a market need, to generate services that are profitable, and that people residents living in multifamily buildings realize that it's worth to pay a service company to maintain the building, to have a digital twin, to carry out the renovation passport over time. All of these things need a certain business underneath, otherwise it will not work by itself, probably. But the reflection I want to do here is that if what we are trying to do here is just a change of scale, because the model, the business is already going on since years with certain typology of buildings. It's a question I ask myself.
Okay, thank you, Leandro. We have another 1 minute and 9 seconds, and I'll give them to Stavros for closing with his point of view on this question. Stavros?
Okay, I will try to be as quick as possible.
58.
Okay. Now I'm more relaxed. I would like to broaden our point of view from the building level to the building stock level, and then to the connected with the electricity, the grid level, or the provision of energy supply to our buildings. In order for the building stock to comply with not only with the digitalization wave, but also the electrification wave, it needs to replace all the systems with heat pumps, and these systems, in order to be able to actually utilize energy from renewable energy sources in a controllable way, they need to be highly digitized. So, if the question is if they are going to give us the money that we spend on them, the question is for sure yes. But the question is how we will do it in order to succeed it and leverage the full potential of these solutions.
Well, this is a topic that we actually handle with Andrei in a project called Smart Square, monetizing the smartness upgrade and seeing when smartness upgrade pays back. But this is a long story, not for this panel right now, but I would like to thank everyone for your very fruitful opinions, point of views, answers, replies. And I think we can move on to the next step of today's workshop. Thank you, everyone.